Hello and welcome back to Psycast. I'm Cypher.
And I'm Castia, and we are the NPCs.
Your weekly dose of gaming chat, hypothetical smackdowns, and whatever else Psyguy digs up for us to talk about.
Speaking of our esteemed producer and researcher, Psyguy, hope everyone's audio is coming through okay. Sometimes the gremlins get into the wires, you know.
Indeed. So, a weekend, get up to anything good, any retro quests conquered?
Actually dove back into some Overwatch 2 comp, trying to climb out of metal ranks. You know the struggle. Watch that new sci-fi show everyone's buzzing about, too. You finally beat that NES boss you were stuck on.
Yeah, still working on that. Fired up the Genesis, actually, which is kind of fitting for today's topic, isn't it?
Ooh, Segue Master. Yeah, perfect timing. Because Psyguy's research this week takes us back to the glorious, sometimes baffling world of 90s gaming innovation.
We're talking about something that feels almost like a fever dream now. A piece of tech, a service that was incredibly forward-thinking, but, well, maybe too forward-thinking for its own good.
We are talking about the Sega Channel.
Ah, yes. The Sega Channel. For anyone listening who wasn't gaming back then, imagine getting your Sega Genesis games through your cable TV wire.
No internet as we know it, no Steam, no Game Pass, just cable. It sounds wild now, but it was real. Officially launched December 94 in North America.
Right when the Genesis was, let's be honest, maybe starting to show its age a little. But the idea, digital distribution, on-demand games in 94.
Totally ahead of its time. It's that classic paradox, isn't it? The vision was there, super advanced, but it crashed into the reality of like mid-90s market conditions and tech limitations.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Why did Sega even try this? The Genesis sold cartridges, loads of them. Why mess with a winning formula?
Well, a big part of it was the rental market. Remember Blockbuster, Hollywood Video? Renting games was massive.
Oh yeah, spent half my allowance there. Probably should have just bought the games.
Exactly. And Sega, Nintendo, all of them saw rentals as kind of eating their lunch. People renting meant they weren't buying those $60 cartridges.
Ah, okay. So Sega Channel was their counter move, like pay us a monthly fee instead of paying the rental store every weekend.
Precisely. It was basically inventing the game subscription model. Access over ownership. Pay one price. Get a library of games. Sound familiar?
Yeah, sounds exactly like Game Pass or PS Plus now. Huh. Sega was really onto something. Was it just about rentals, or was there a bigger picture?
There was definitely that whole 90s buzz around interactive television. The idea that your TV could do more than just show, you know, reruns of Full House. Sega Channel fit right into that.
Making the TV interactive via games? Makes sense.
Yeah.
But Sega couldn't just flip a switch and send games down cable lines, could they? They needed help.
No way. This was a huge undertaking. It was a joint venture, actually. Sega, Time Warner Entertainment. Yes, that Time Warner and TCI, Telecommunications, Inc., major cable players.
So Sega brought the games and the console know-how. Time Warner and TCI brought the pipes, the actual cable network.
Exactly. They provided the essential infrastructure. Couldn't have happened without them. And there were some key people driving it, like Doug Glenn at Sega and Stan Thomas.
Stan Thomas.
Yeah, he was a really important executive who came over from HBO, a pioneering black executive in the field, actually. He understood the subscription model from HBO. His death in 95 was apparently a big blow to the project's leadership.
Wow. Okay, so they had the vision, the partners, the why. Let's get nerdy. How did it work? How do you cram Sonic the Hedgehog down a coaxial cable in 1994?
Right. Okay, so you, the gamer, needed a special piece of kit, the Sega Channel adapter.
Looked kind of like a big cartridge itself, didn't it?
Yeah, it slotted right into the Genesis cartridge port. Then you plugged your TV cable into the adapter.
Okay, so the adapter's the magic box. What did it do?
It basically listened for the special Sega Channel signal coming down the cable line, decoded it, and fed the game data to the Genesis.
Right.
Critically, it had its own RAM, 4 megabytes.
4 megs? That's like less than a single MP3 file today. How could you run a whole Genesis game on that?
Well, that's the catch. It was temporary storage. Volatile RAM. When you turn the console off, poof, game gone.
Wait, you had to re-download the game every single time you wanted to play it?
Yep, every single time. No persistent storage. That 4 MB was just a buffer, really. Speaks volumes about the tech constraints they faced, right?
Man, that sounds inconvenient.
Yeah.
So how did the games get from Sega HQ to my adapter's tiny 4 MB brain? Through the ether.
Kind of. It was this multi-stage process. Sega would compile the month's games, menus, everything onto a CD-ROM.
A CD-ROM. Seriously. Like they burned a disc.
Yep. Very 90s. They'd send that physical CD to a central broadcast place, like TCI's satellite uplink in Denver.
Okay, so CD to satellite dish.
Uh-huh. Then the signal was beamed up to a satellite Hughes Galaxy 7, apparently covering North America. Your local cable company would grab that satellite feed at their main hub, their head end.
Got it. Satellite to local cable office.
And then they'd pump that signal down the same coaxial cable lines that brought you MTV and C-SPAN right into your house, into the adapter. Sometimes internationally, they'd just mail the CD-ROMs directly to the local providers.
That is a surprisingly complex journey involving satellites and CDs just to play Echo the Dolphin again. Okay, but wasn't sending digital data tricky for cable lines built for, like, analog PV fuzz?
It was a huge headache. And this is maybe the most fascinating part of the whole story, the unexpected legacy.
Go on.
Cable lines were noisy, lots of interference, not designed for clean digital data. To make Sega Channel work reliably, the cable companies had to literally clean their signals, reduce the noise, upgrade parts of their network.
They had to improve their infrastructure just for this one game service.
Yes. And think about what came next.
Cable modems. High-speed internet.
Exactly. By forcing the cable guys to get better at handling data signals over coax, Sega Channel inadvertently, kickstarted the upgrades needed for broadband internet a few years later. How crazy is that?
That's amazing. So playing Sonic via satellite helped pave the way for my gigabit fiber connection. Okay, maybe not direct line, but still.
It's a major contributing factor, according to the research. A totally unexpected positive outcome from a service that, well, spoiler, didn't last that long. It showed the limits of coax, but also pushed it forward.
Mind blown. Okay, let's talk user experience. I plug it in, turn on the Genesis. What happens? A dial-up modem sound?
No. Apparently about a 30-second load time, then a main menu popped up. Looked kind of like a system menu you could navigate through game categories.
How are they sorted? Just alphabetical?
Nah, they were smarter than that. 10 categories, things like action, sports, RPGs, puzzle, family, made it easier to find stuff.
Sensible? Did they have demos? That's standard now. Try before you buy, or try before you subscribe.
They did, called test drives. You could play like 10-minute chunks of upcoming or featured games, a direct ancestor of the modern demo. Pretty cool feature.
Definitely. And the download itself once you picked a game.
Yeah.
How long are we talking for that 4 MB transfer?
Sources say up to a few minutes, sometimes even quicker, like about a minute. Once it was in the adapter's RAM, boom, played like a normal cartridge.
Until you turned it off.
Mm-hmm.
But, okay, that 4 MB limit again. Genesis cards got bigger than 4 MB later on, right? What about those?
Yeah, that's where it got tricky. Some bigger games had to be adjusted, trimmed down. The classic example is Super Street Fighter 2. Huge game on cartridge. The Sega Channel version had some stuff cut out to fit.
So it wasn't always the full retail experience. Convenience came at a cost, maybe, but like some streaming movie versions versus the Blu-ray.
Exactly that trade-off. A pioneer's compromise, you know. Work with the tech you have. They also had parental controls, by the way. Passcodes for mature games, lockouts, sensible stuff.
Good, good. Now, the games themselves, was it just the same 50 games forever, or did it change? Because having to re-download stuff constantly would get old if the library was static.
Oh yeah, key point. It was dynamic. Started with around 50 games, grew to maybe 70 plus, but the lineup rotated. Monthly refreshes, sometimes bi-weekly. That was crucial to keep people paying. Like new seasons dropping on Netflix, kinda.
Keeping it fresh. Did they have exclusives? Stuff you only got on Sega Channel? Like a killer app.
They tried. They had some regional exclusives like Alien Soldier in North America, some unique stuff like Garfield, the Lost Levels, Nightmare Circus, plus those modified versions we mentioned. They definitely used content to try and hook people.
Okay, it's all sounding pretty ambitious.
Yeah.
Visionary tech, content strategy. What did it cost? How did they actually make money? Or try to?
Pure subscription. Pay per month. In the U.S., it was somewhere between like $12 and $20 a month. Canada, maybe $15 to $19, plus usually a setup fee, maybe $25.
$12 to $20 a month in the mid-90s. Oof, that sounds kind of pricey compared to renting a game for like $3 for a weekend.
It was perceived as really high, yeah.
Right.
Adjust for inflation, and that's like maybe $25, $30 a month today for Genesis games. It was a tough sell when people were used to buying a game once and owning it.
That whole access versus ownership thing again. Hard shift for consumers, especially at that price point. But they did get it into a lot of homes initially, right?
Right.
Because of the cable guys.
Yeah. The partnerships were vital. By 95, they could potentially reach over 10 million households. And for the cable companies, the initial cost wasn't too bad. Just covering adapters and some satellite gear, so many signed up to offer it.
Did Sega worry about hurting their own cartridge sales? Like, if you put Sonic 3 on Sega Channel day one, why buy the cart?
Oh, absolutely. Big concern. Their strategy was a delay. New retail games wouldn't hit Sega Channel for about 3 months. Trying to find that balance, Give subscribers value, but don't kill your main cash cow. It also gave publishers another way to get royalties and exposure for older games.
Makes sense. So let's pause here for a sec. Speaking of subscriptions and getting content, if you're enjoying this trip down memory lane or our usual hypothetical battles in gaming news,
make sure you subscribe to the Psycast right here on this channel. We drop new episodes every week covering all sorts of gaming goodness.
And don't forget, Psyguy also does live streams here too. More gaming, more chaos usually. It all happens on this one channel. Hit that subscribe button, maybe the notification bell. Helps us out a ton.
Please do. Okay, back to Sega Channel's fate. It had the tech, the reach, but died in 1998. What went wrong? It sounds like it should have worked.
Yeah, it feels like it should have. But it was kind of a perfect storm. Subscriber numbers peaked around 250,000, but then started dropping off by 97. That high cost was definitely a major factor.
People just weren't willing to pay that much monthly for older games, maybe?
Seems like it. And the timing?
Yeah.
Just awful. The Genesis was aging. Sega's focus was already chaotically shifting to the Saturn.
Which was its own saga of mismanagement, right?
Oh, boy. Yeah. So, like one source said, who's going to pay $13 a month for games on a dying system? Brutal, but fair.
Lack of corporate focus killed it from within, maybe? Plus, technology waits for no one.
Exactly. Cable modems started popping up. Early internet gaming was becoming a thing. Suddenly, this closed, console-specific cable thing seemed quaint, limited.
Yeah, the world was moving towards the open internet, even back then. Yeah. So high cost, bad timing for the console lifecycle, Sega's internal mess, declining subscribers, and new tech making it look old.
Ouch, a real pileup. Even though it failed commercially, its legacy is actually pretty huge, isn't it? More than just a weird footnote.
Way more. We already talked about the biggest one being that accidental catalyst for broadband upgrades. Pushing cable companies to clean their signals, that's massive.
Still kind of boggles my mind. What else?
Well, it basically laid the blueprint for modern digital platforms. Yeah. Xbox Live Arcade, PSN, Steam, even Game Pass. The whole idea of a digital library, subscriptions, demos, Sega Channel was doing it first on a large scale.
It was a proof of concept. It showed digital distribution worked, technically, even with kludgy 90s tech.
Exactly. It proved the core tech was viable. The industry learned a ton from it, lessons that paid off big time when broadband finally became widespread.
So it's this amazing story, really, a visionary idea, maybe flawed execution or just bad timing, but it genuinely changed things in unexpected ways.
In a bold experiment that didn't pay off directly for Sega in the long run, but benefited the whole ecosystem. You got to respect the attempt.
Absolutely. So, wrapping up our look at Sega Channel. The big takeaway is it was brilliant, way ahead of its time, but ultimately tripped up by cost, timing, Sega's own strategic woes, and just being slightly too early for the tech curve.
But its DNA is everywhere today. Digital downloads, subscriptions, game demos, it all echoes back to this ambitious 90s experiment delivered over your TV cable. It proved the future was possible.
Which really makes you think, doesn't it? How many other potentially groundbreaking ideas in gaming or anywhere else failed? Not because they were bad ideas, but because the market wasn't ready, the price was wrong, or the stars just didn't align. What are we maybe overlooking right now that's just waiting for its moment?
Something to chew on next time you fire up Steam or Game Pass.
Definitely. All right, that's all the time we have for this look back. Thanks for joining us on Psycast.
Remember, you're awesome. Never let the world tell you otherwise.
Stay safe.
Stay sane. We'll catch you next week.